Welcome to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Jones. I am a certified personal trainer, and I'm here to help you achieve your fitness goals without pain. In each episode, I'll share tips and strategies that will help you stay safe and pain-free while you're working out. I'll also interview experts in the field of fitness and pain management. So if you're ready to learn how to stay active and pain-free, then subscribe to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast today. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Jones, and today I am joined by Dr. Gabriel Posner. He is a somatic educator, a neuromuscular therapist, an author, and someone who has spent the last 2 decades helping people get out of pain and back into the activities that they love. So welcome to the show, Gabriel. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, great to talk with you. Thanks for having me.
So before we get into the book, because I do want to talk a little bit about the book, but I want to know, how did you get into, I guess, where did everything start? So what brought you to the work of helping people? And, I know you started off with massage. So if you could talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I started actually in psychology. I was studying psychology undergrad because I was really fascinated with people and trying to understand people better and trying to help people better. So even before I went into massage school, I had a desire to help people. And by the time I finished massage school, I was convinced that actually the fastest way I could help people would be to work with them with therapeutic touch. I was like, I think what the world needs more is like nonviolent, non-sexual, just healing therapeutic touch. And so I finished my undergraduate and I went straight across the country to the Bay Area and signed up for massage school there and went to the National Holistic Institute 10-month program. It was a great way to dive into the Bay Area too. I felt like everybody was a massage therapist at that point. So great way to build community, great way to learn about myself, great way to start getting into doing therapeutic work. And by the time I was finished with it, I was sort of falling apart as a human. Did various things in my childhood. I was pretty wound up, anxious, although I didn't know it at the time. And I was starting to get a lot of chronic musculoskeletal stuff, muscle spasming, my hands and arms felt arthritic. And that led me, it was a circuitous path because it led me to knock on a ton of different doors, seeing acupuncturists and chiropractors and a homeopath who gave me homeopathic version of embryonic fluid to put me through a rebirthing thing. He's very excited to hear about my dreams. I disappointed him with my lack of epiphany dreams. But fortunately, somebody turned me on to the work of Thomas Hanna, and I happened to be just down the street of where they were doing trainings with it. So I got the book Somatics and dove into doing the practices, and they worked. So I went from doing massage therapy to doing clinical somatic work and kind of doing both sides side by side and then sort of merging them back together. And through teaching at massage schools, because I really learned that I love to teach, I love to share this work. I learned that I could teach massage therapy and somatics sort of at the same time and blend it together. And that's sort of what I've been offering for the last 20 years. I've been offering clinical somatic work. I've been offering hands-on therapeutic massage and the spectrum in between. Clients that want massage but want a little bit of somatic work. And now I teach this more and more to new therapists, to old therapists, to established therapists, to anybody who wants to learn how to do this more effectively, more powerfully, and most important in my mind, more easily for them. Because somatics has given me the framework for how do we unlock powers of self-regulation and healing repeatedly, consistently, effectively. How do we quickly access our own powers of self-healing and self-regulation? That's what I found for myself. And that's what I love to share with other people in whatever format I can share it with them.
That's great. So for those of us, because somatics has become a pretty popular term, and I don't know if the correct definition is out there, but what are somatics, or what is somatics, I guess, and why does it matter to have an understanding of this practice?
Sure. My understanding of somatics comes from Thomas Hanna. Thomas Hanna was an existential philosopher who had a vision. So existentialism is all about sort of like making the most of our time here on earth, and came around to this idea of we need to be more embodied. We need to be turning our attention inwards right? Because so much of the 20th century and absolutely the 19th century was about directing all of our human energy into like outward activities, converting the world into a safe, reliable, dependable place. The industrialization of the world was a huge exertion of energy. And what he was saying, and he wrote this book called Bodies in Revolt. It was a philosophy book in 1970, it was published. And he was basically saying that created the opportunity that we could now, in a much more safe, reliable environment, turn our attention inwards. And rather than saying body and mind, he used the word somatic. He's like, we're gonna use fresh linguistics to describe this new thing that's happening. It wasn't really a new thing, which actually was like taking from things that Tai Chi experts have been doing for years, yogis have been doing for years, shamans have been doing for years. But he's like this, he was saying essentially, this is a philosophical perspective that is not body and mind, but that is whole and that is from the inside out. So I use Thomas Hanna's language for this, which is that to be a soma is to be a first person experience of life. You're not a body with a mind. You're whole. You might look at somebody and see them as a body, but that's not how they experience themselves. We experience ourselves continually as whole. And so that is the somatic philosophy. And really, I think that any practice that helps somebody to sense themselves more deeply, helps themselves to awaken their awareness of self is a somatic practice. He edited and created Somatics magazine journal through the Novato Institute, which he also founded. And that was a way to bring in all the different mind-body practices under one umbrella. Feldenkrais, Alexander, Reiki and psychological work are all somatic practices, whether they were calling themselves that at the time or not. And now we have this broad idea of people doing somatic work. They're saying, we're doing somatic breath work, we're doing somatic yoga, we're doing somatic massage. I do clinical somatic work, which comes out of the lineage of Thomas Hanna, who was a student of Moshe Feldenkrais, which specifically is saying, how do we take these ideas of embodiment and direct them specifically towards issues of lack of awareness, lack of motor control, stuckness, sensory motor amnesia is the phrase that he used. But it's generally speaking, how do we take these ideas of embodiment and direct them towards where somebody needs to better embody themselves so that they have more control and more agency in what they do. And therefore, they're not just dealing with the mysteries of why do I feel like this was to me? Why am I falling apart? Why do I feel like I'm 24 going on 70? And understanding, actually, I was not sensing what's going on very clearly. I was sort of captive to the processes of my body and therefore was feeling this conflict between my body and me, rather than feeling I am my body. I am my emotions. And I have a lot of agency over what I do with it and how I feel. So that's sort of my take on somatics.
So what is sensory motor amnesia?
Sensory motor amnesia is the phrase that Thomas Hanna gave to this phenomenon. And, my world is massage therapy, bodyworkers, hands-on practitioners. The phenomenon where the client comes into our office and says, can you help me with my shoulder? And they have lost the ability to control what's happening with their shoulder or their back. They come in and their chest is up. Their back is in a huge lordotic curve. They say, can you help me with this? That's sensory motor amnesia because the bones aren't just going to end up in that shape. Muscles are holding them in that shape. And the person has lost the ability to, one, feel exactly what they're doing and to control what they're doing. So it's dual loss of feeling and voluntary movement.
And is that common for a lot of people who experience pain?
I would estimate 90% of the people experiencing musculoskeletal pain are actually experiencing sensory motor amnesia. And I say that because if you look at the World Health Organization studies, less than 10% of the musculoskeletal conditions people are experiencing are due to structural issues. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong.
Love that so much.
Me too. It's very promising in my
mind.
I
love hearing it, right? Like you're like, I don't understand what's going on. And they're like, there's nothing there.
There's real pain for sure. But the pain is because there's real pain for sure, right? The pain is real. But the person is not dealing with something that's broken. There's nothing broken. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. The issue that Thomas Hanna identified, and I agree with, my 20 years of experience has confirmed this, that people have lost the ability to control what they're doing with their bodies. They've lost the ability to fully sense what's happening within them. And that's the issue. So they come in with standing like this with a little bit of pain in their SI joints or a lot of pain in their side joints, but are not aware of the fact that they're holding their back rigid, locked up in tension.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because if you try to do a somatic exercise, like I know Inside Timer has these little exercises that you can do where they ask you to tighten and release. And if once you start getting past that point, because in the beginning I couldn't tell you the difference in the tension of my muscles because I think I was just walking around bracing for impact with
Yeah.
everything around me because I felt fragile. And so anything that came near me or whatever, that was the immediate response was to tighten up. And when you start doing the somatic, like just a short little meditations where you tighten and release like your arm or your leg or your foot or your calf or whatever, or your jaw, you can feel the difference. And what I noticed was then there was like gradual releasing. So today when I released something, maybe my shoulder dropped a half an inch or something like that. But then after a couple of days of doing it, then I noticed like, oh, my shoulder, dropped an inch. And now when I'm walking around, like brushing my teeth or washing dishes or something, I'll feel this where my shoulders are up. And then I go, is something going to happen? Is something going to jump out of the soap and attack you? And it's like, no. So then I have to stop and go, okay. And then I relax. But how do you work with people to, I guess, heal that response, that bracing that a lot of chronic pain sufferers have?
So what you're describing to me is an elevated resting tone, right?
Okay.
You feel like you're relaxed, and you are. You are relaxed as much as you possibly can be relaxed, but the level of relaxation you're at is actually quite tense. So you have an elevated resting tone, and many people, most of us have elevated resting tone in parts of us. Meaning at rest, we're actually maintaining like 30 to 70% of a muscle's contraction. And we can tighten it more when we let go, we come right back to that place, right? And so what we do is we need to help somebody to relax more completely. And you have to do that by bringing the awareness of what they're doing up to the conscious level, where the cortex is, where the conscious part of the brain, because that is how we can change what we're doing unconsciously. That set point of tension is an unconscious set point. I would say it's an amnesic set point. Because when you're at rest, you don't feel that you're contracted 70%. You perceive it as rest, but you're tired, you're sore, you're achy, you feel fragile because your body's not able to do the things it would need to do because it's locked up at 70% contracted. That makes sense?
Yes.
And so the techniques that we do, and this is like straight out of physiology books, are designed to increase voluntary contraction, right? The contraction comes first, and then it's a mindful release. I see a lot of really great techniques out there that say, bring your shoulders up and let them go. Bring your shoulders up and let them go. And they're onto something there a little bit. The contraction, the release is important. And if I would offer one thing to our listeners here, it's whatever you're doing there, it's like contract and release, do it 10 times slower. Because if you do it 10 times slower, you have to maintain a mindful connection to what you're doing. You have to pay attention to it. You can't just go through the motion. If you do it slowly, not just the contraction, but even more importantly, the release, what we believe we're doing is we're inhibiting the stretch receptors that would normally stop you at your former place of rest. We're inhibiting these things. They're called spindle cells. And that actually allows your muscle to become longer, and you actually achieve a new level of rest. So that's exactly what you're describing. Over a couple of days, it sounds like you're describing a progressive muscle relaxation technique. You contract and relax. You do that enough, you start to release more completely. And then, you're dipping layers of relaxation. It's like, how much more can I release? How much more can I release? And again, by the end of a week, your shoulders will be an inch lower. Are they fully relaxed? Probably not, but they're closer to full relaxation.
That's cool. Well, it's good to know that, and it explains why I'm sore after doing that, because in my brain, I'm just tightening a little bit and relaxing and I don't understand. But if I'm doing this stretching or what my body perceives as stretching eventually, then I'm releasing old tension, which would probably cause a little soreness.
Right? Like, you imagine this. If you were conscious of the fact that you were tightening your back or shoulders 24/7, how sore would your back and shoulders be? If you could perceive all that effort, right? It's like they've been running a marathon. So the feeling, and this is, I tell all my clients, I'm like, expect to be sore, not because what I'm doing is going to make you sore, but it's going to help you feel how sore you've been. It's like
Mm,
the iceberg
yes.
thing. We're exposing more of the tension that's there. And as you let go, you now can process what you've been doing. So the soreness is inevitable in the process of getting better.
Well, it's good. Progress. Woohoo. I love it. So you wrote a book, and some of you may or may not be able to see this if you're watching on video, and it's called Somatic Techniques for Massage Therapists. Who did you write the book for, and what kind of gap are you hoping to fill?
Yeah, as I tried to make a simple title, it's designed primarily for massage therapists. Really, I think this book is useful for anybody who's in the wellness field, especially anybody who's using touch therapeutically. So PTs, personal trainers, nurses, chiropractors, acupuncturists, other somatic practitioners. And it is designed to help people understand how touch and movement can be used to address sensory motor amnesia, right? It came out of CE course that I've been teaching for years for massage therapists, and is a way to help them to reimagine how they're using their massage techniques, as well as how to bring clinical somatic techniques from the Thomas Hanna lineage, the Hanna somatic lineage, into their sessions. So massage is a powerful modality. It's an ancient modality. People have been touching therapeutically for years in community, in therapeutic environments. Doctors, medicine people have been touching for centuries. They don't touch that much anymore, but that is something that has been part of medical practice throughout history. And
We don't touch anymore. Like literally, I don't know the last time a doctor touched me.
yes,
And I've had things like, where I went in for something that you probably should touch to check, and they're like, they don't touch you anymore.
the art of palpation is becoming a lost art as biotechnology has increased, for sure. And that's sort of where that's the gap. If you ask, where's the gap?
Okay.
That's the gap this book fills. How do we go back to the ancient wisdom of medicine people from thousands of years ago, of the community massage therapists that could feel and touch and could awaken and create change in somebody else? I think good massage therapists, people who have been in practice for 5 or longer years, are likely finding their way into working somatically. Otherwise, they would have burned out by then. And so for a lot of people who are already in the field, I think this book gives more language to what you're doing, helps you understand what you're doing, and helps you to deliver that powerful therapeutic experience more reliably and more effective, more consistently, because it's explaining why it happens. I don't think massage therapy works for the reasons we say it works. I don't think it works because we're realigning scar tissue and forcing fascia to release, unsticking adhesion. I don't think that happens. I think it works because people are innately self-healing and self-regulating. And when we touch in a therapeutic way, we unlock that person's self-healing, self-regulating capacities, right? And so it's helping to shift perspectives. In fact, the primary technique that I share is how to shift your perspective from working on a muscle, on a body, to working with a soma. And anybody can do that. Hands-on yoga instructor or yoga therapist, a nurse, a chiropractor, or PT, anybody can shift their perspective to work with a soma. And when they do that, whatever they're doing is going to be more effective. And then I also bring in clinical somatic techniques that are not taught anywhere outside of the Hanna somatic lineage.
I love that because I feel even in my practice as a trainer that I have shifted into that without knowing it, because I was just looking at, oh, you wanted to build upper body strength or you needed core strength so that you can run. And I wasn't really looking at the athlete. I was just saying, you're coming in, you want to solve this issue, let me help you solve the issue. Great. And then not realizing, one, it's all connected. And sometimes if somebody's core is weak, that means there's other things going on. So you actually need to address the entire body. And then there's also a lot of social, emotional, biological reasonings for why the person may be in this state. And I know that I spend a little bit more time being a therapist than I do actually being a fitness coach. Like you can go to AI and get your workout and whatever. But when people come to me, it's because of the fact that they are getting that different experience. And I love that for any massage therapist who's working with athletes or whoever, that to have this, because I guess I can go and pay somebody to go rub on my back for an hour and go, yay, okay, that was cool. But if I'm somebody who's in chronic pain and I'm going because I'm hoping for some change, 1 hour isn't going to do it. And it's definitely, if I know that it's working at a different level than just you putting your hands on me, and that we're really trying to work with my body as opposed rubbing out a knot or doing something like that, like I'm more likely to return because the healing benefit is more complete. If that makes sense?
Absolutely. More complete and faster and actually what you're looking for, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, I've had these sessions, where it seems like the therapist had an agenda to get my shoulder to release, right? And if it's like I want my shoulder to release, I share that goal. If I'm coming in for a massage and I'm feeling wound up, I share that desire to have my shoulder release. But it's not going to release from someone just like pushing on it and digging into
Digging.
it and saying, and like, I'm going to get that shoulder to release because it's my shoulder. So this book is to fill this gap where like a lot of conventional massage techniques work well for a lot of clients, but not all clients and in not all situations. We wouldn't be doing this. You wouldn't have massage being the number one complementary form of healthcare if it wasn't effective. But I knew for myself that there were clients early on that like the things that I were told would happen on the table were not happening. I was doing the things, I was leaning in, I was pushing on places, and the releases were not happening. Clients were like, yeah, that feels good. But I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. So it's in those moments where we need to apply these somatic principles. Okay. And we need to come from the understanding that my client cannot fully feel themselves and cannot fully relax themselves. And therefore, what they're coming in with telling me is the problem is only the tip of the iceberg. Right. I bet you've experienced this with your clients and with yourself. That thing that you thought that you were aware of is just that. That's the thing you're aware of. That's the thing that's calling your attention. But when you start to explore the rest of what's going on, you realize, oh, that thing is connected to a tight lat that goes all the way down into your sacrum. It's connected to the side of your body that's braced because of an old injury. It's connected to, as you were saying, sort of biopsychosocial, this belief system I have that I can't move my shoulder because I injured my shoulder 20 years ago and I'm still worried that it's going to hurt when I move it a certain way. Right. And so my therapist, my trainer is telling me just to reach up and grab that bar. And part of me deep down is thinking, I'm going to dislocate myself if I do this. So we have to treat people, as somas, as fully whole, integrated, alive people that have lost the ability to fully sense themselves. And therefore we use touch to awaken, to say, hey, can you feel this? Can you meet me? I'm going to touch here. Can you meet me from the inside with your awareness? And can you let me in? I'm not going to push my way in. Can you let me in by relaxing that a little bit? And you don't know what it is to relax it yet. So I'm going to help you to relax it with the techniques that you can learn from this book and through my trainings and stuff. And then everything else that I've learned to do is so much more effective because the client has let me in, has let themselves relax. They get what they're looking for. I don't have to work as hard, and the effects are immense. Effects are transformational and a lot faster, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome. This has been incredible. Where can people get in touch with you and find the book and follow your work?
Yeah. Elevated Somatics is the name of my business. It's my handle on Instagram. They can look me up on LinkedIn under my name, Gabriel Posner, and my website, elevatedsomatics.com. I am bringing this wherever I can. I've been doing trainings around the country. I do these 2-hour CE workshops that are based on the book. And I also am developing a longer course, about to launch my first version of this longer course. It's going to be about a 5 to 6 month course, mostly virtual for people that want to get deeper into how do we do this for ourselves first? And then how do we do this with our clients? It's got to start with us as wellness practitioners, right? We are the technology of change. One of the things I love saying is that like your doctor doesn't touch you because their technology has advanced in other ways. Their sensors and their tests and all of that provide the information that they need to deal with most of the stuff that comes in their office, right? As personal trainer, physical therapist, massage therapist, we are the technology. And so we have to improve ourselves first before we can do it with other people. And so that's where this 5 to 6 month program I'm doing really like fills in this gap of like, it's a deeply healing experience and sensory developing, consciousness developing experience. And then we transfer it into the clients so that you can work as long as you want without risk of fear, injury, or burnout. And you can create transformational, rapid changes with your clients. So they can reach out and contact me and share in any way they want. And I love meeting people and sharing this work. And for listeners of your podcast, they can get a discount if they buy the book directly from me through my website. I'm offering 15% discount, pain free, all caps, one word at checkout. Or they can also get the book anywhere that books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, etc.
And if you are somebody who's in the field of working with people and their bodies, I I've started reading it. I haven't completed reading it, but it is a really interesting read, and it gives you a lot of the why behind what we're doing. And when you, especially if you're trying to care for yourself, because as Gabriel said, it's super important that we as practitioners kind of model or mirror what good health looks like. And if you're a disaster, then, what you're doing is going to kind of suck. So you have to take care of yourself. And if you enjoy doing it, you want to be able to do it for a long time and you don't want it. And I know a lot of massage therapists that are like, I'm out because their bodies are broken from the exchange of energy as well as just the actual, modality of hands on people.
Totally. They're doing
So,
a set, oh, I bet this feels really good for the person on the table, but it's not feeling good for them. And
right. Yeah.
that's the shame. And too many people are burning out of this field way, way before they should be. So
Yeah. And we
that's
need you.
we do. We need all of you like real bad. People are really suffering and they need all of us. So yes, thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome chatting with you. And I really appreciate what you're doing out there, bringing in people from all different arenas in the wellness field and giving us a platform to talk and share and spread this work, spread the word.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Be well.